Hello everyone. So I'm going to make a start. I will continue to let others in as we go along, but I think we have enough people in now. So thank you very much for making it today, and welcome. Welcome to this webinar. I'm just going to quickly explain how this presentation is going to go, and then get straight into it. So I've created this presentation to let you know a little bit more about both the details of the Service Academies and their applications. So that's how we're going to start, and then I'm going to move on to the ROTCs, and then after that we'll go through some of the questions that you requested. So I'm going to answer some of those from the registration form, and then we're going to have a discussion with some people who have served in the military. So just a quick introduction of our guests. So our guests will be with us after the initial presentation, and then we'll go into a discussion mode after that. So if you're one of those guests, could you hold tight until the presentation finishes, and then we will we'll talk and allow others to hear the things that we have to share with them. Okay. So first of all, we have Patrick Gray, who is a Westpoint graduate. Has lived life as a student there and served. I will talk to him about life in the Service Academy, ask him some questions about Westpoint and commitment in general and obligations. He has a world of insight and experience that I hope that we can all learn from. And I know that he'll have some excellent advice for us. Also, we have Anthony Savage, and Anthony has served in the Navy. He came into the service after completing a degree and then had officer schools afterwards. So he's had a wealth of experience serving his country, and I hope that we can learn more about a life serving and the Navy itself from him. Both guests have been very patient for this session to happen and been very generous with their time and support. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for being here to help us understand more about this field. I just want to explain to you that as a college counsellor, I'm a generalist, not a specialist in the finer details of the military and the education behind serving. It is a very niche area, yet we have people with us that have gone through different routes into being in active duty and serve in the military. Additionally, I've supported students preparing for an application as well. So, attending one of the 5 service affiliated with the armed forces of the United States can be a great way to prepare to serve as a military officer while also getting into a high quality college for education. With highly competitive acceptance rates and some special requirements for admission, getting into the service academies isn't easy. The application process also starts earlier in high school, so it's really important that you research your options promptly and thoroughly before making a decision. However, if you're a good match for the particular and challenging environment that they foster, you may find that you thrive at one of these schools. The Service Academies affiliated with the US military exist to train young people to serve as commissioned officers in the various branches of the armed forces. They combine rigorous academic coursework with other training that prepares students for the physical and mental demands of military service and leadership. Upon graduation, students at the Service Academies receive bachelor's degrees and are also commissioned as military officers, with certain exceptions. So let's talk about what is a US Service Academy. Okay. Well, the best way to look at this initially is looking at the purpose of it. So service academies play a crucial role in developing future leaders for the US Armed Forces. They offer rigorous academic programs and intensive military training, and they aim to educate and commission officers. Graduates hold leadership positions and contribute significantly to military operations. They also instill core values, things such as honour, duty, respect and integrity, which are central aspects to academy life, shaping future officers' character. They promote patriotism and service. Academies cultivate a strong sense of national service and commitment to the country. So there are 5 service academies in the US, each representing a specific branch of the military. Each academy follows a 4-year program with a distinct curriculum and military training that's tailored to its respective branch. So what are the benefits? Well, full financial aid, tuition fees, housing and food are covered in exchange for the service commitment. We'll be talking about this more as we go. It offers a prestigious education, top-notch academics combined with leadership and military skills development. Also, a guaranteed career path. Upon graduation, you become a commissioned officer in your chosen branch. Strong camaraderie and tradition are also fostered. So, building lifelong bonds with your fellow cadets and immersing yourself in the unique military culture. Personal growth and development. You gain valuable leadership, teamwork, and discipline skills too. So it's important to think about whether or not the Service Academy is right for you to start with. So in answering this, it depends on what your individual goals and aspirations are. Everybody's different, but it's very important for you to consider the following. Do you value a structured and disciplined environment with strong sense of service and commitment? Are you passionate about the specific military branch and willing to dedicate your career to it? Do you excel academically and physically, meeting the demanding requirements for admission? Are you comfortable with limited personal freedom and a focus on military training over extracurricular activities and all the other things that come alongside being at college as you graduate from ACS? If you answered yes to these questions, a Service Academy could be an excellent path for you. However, if you seek flexibility, academic exploration, or delayed military commitment, a ROTC might be better for you, and we will be exploring this today as well. Remember, thorough research, contacting academy recruiters, and self-reflection are crucial for making an informed decision that aligns with your individual goals and your priorities. So, admission to the Service Academies is generally restricted to US citizens except by special invitation. Nominations is a very important area for us to think about. So we've included this in here, and I've had quite a few questions about this as well in the lead up to this presentation. Except for the Coast Guard Academy, all service academies require you to be nominated for admission in addition to submitting your own application. This nomination can come from one of your congressional representatives or senators, or in exceptional circumstances from the President or Vice President of the United States. Typically, each member of Congress can only issue a certain number of recommendations. Don't worry, you don't have to know your nominator personally in order to seek a nomination. So in the registration to this webinar, you were asked to give some questions that you wanted to be answered. So here you can see at the top a screenshot of one of those questions. This was, when does one submit a request for a congressional nomination? So applying for a nomination to the US Service Academy from the UK involves some unique considerations as well. Here's a breakdown of the nomination process and the best options for you. So let's look at the nomination timeline first. When the application opens, the application period typically opens on the 15th of May each year and closes in mid-October. However, researching and preparing early is essential, as securing a nomination takes time and effort. Let's talk about the nomination submittal. Aim to submit your nomination application well before the deadline to allow your nominator ample time to submit theirs. So nomination options from the UK for the US citizens that are applying from the UK. As a US citizen residing in the UK, you have various nominating options. The congressional nominations. Contact your senators and representatives through their UK offices or websites. They typically require strong connections to their states and may prioritise applicants from their constituencies. Vice presidential nominations. This option has limited availability and is highly competitive, requiring exceptional qualifications and demonstrated leadership potential. This is applied for online, as we saw in the previous presentation, so it might be an option for those residing here. Service-sponsored nominations. So each military service offers a limited number of nominations. Explore their websites and contact their UK representatives for eligibility and application details. The presidential nominations. This highly competitive option requires exceptional merit and achievement. So research eligibility criteria and submission process carefully. So your best nomination option depends on several factors. Your state of legal residence in the US, if you can demonstrate that. Prioritizing nominations from your senators and representatives first. It also depends on your qualifications and achievements. If you possess exceptional merit, consider service-sponsored or presidential nominations. Availability of nominations. Research each option's availability to you as well as the competitiveness as well to maximize your chances. So some additional tips: start early, research options, contact potential nominators and express your interest well before the application period opens. Highlight your unique qualifications and your tie to the US. Emphasize your US citizenship when you get in contact with them and you request whether or not you can get a nomination from them. Any connections to specific states or services and your reasons for pursuing a service academy education. Also, demonstrate your leadership potential. Showcase your achievements in extracurricular activities, community service or work experience, or all of them. Seek guidance from the US Service Academy liaison officers that are in the UK. They can provide valuable insights and support throughout the application process. Remember, securing a nomination is crucial for your application to be considered. Start early, research thoroughly, and present yourself as highly qualified and motivated candidates to increase your chances for success. Okay, so moving on to tuition and commitment. In most circumstances, tuition to the US Service Academies is covered by the branch of the military that they represent. Depending on the school, you may still have to cover certain other expenses, such as room and board or cost of an approved laptop or costs related to your uniforms, for example. In exchange for this financial coverage, you'll commit to serving in the military for a certain period of time after you graduate. The details of this service commitment will vary based on your school and military branch. If you leave the academy before graduation, either voluntary or involuntary, you may be subject to consequences, including having to repay the cost of your education or serve as an enlisted military member rather than an officer. Elements of commitment. So, attending a service academy comes with a significant commitment. That is active duty service. After graduation, you typically serve 8 years of active duty, followed by 4 years in the reserves or National Guard. Strict discipline and rules. Adherence to a regimented lifestyle with limited personal freedom. Limited academic choice. Majors may be restricted to those relevant to military needs. Focus on military training. 4 years dedicated to academics and military development with limited opportunity for outside activities beyond that. So it's important to consider these things. So this is a good time to drop in one of those questions that was asked in the registration to this webinar. The question was, what requirements must be met to get into a school like this? So the requirements to apply to a service academy can seem extensive, but knowing them beforehand will help you to prepare and navigate the application process smoothly. So here's a breakdown of the key requirements coming up. So, elements to the applications. You'll see some more specific requirements regarding nominations and age, associated eligibility and so on, and the different commitment values and the percentage of acceptance rates for each individual service academy in a little while. But first, I'll just talk a little bit in general about the applications to them as a whole. So admission is generally restricted to US citizens except by special invitation. So for example, you're eligible to apply to the US Naval Academy if you meet the following criteria. You are a US citizen by the 1st of July of the year of entry, at least 17 years of age, and must not have passed the maximum age on the 1st of July of that year of entry, as well as having a valid social security number. So the process, the application process itself is quite tough and includes other factors, such as physical fitness, and involves factors that don't usually come into play in civilian colleges, like that physical fitness element. Okay, applications should really start early, during the junior year of high school. So typically we have students applying to colleges in the senior year in grade 12, whereas Service Academies needs to start it in grade 11, towards the end of grade 11. Also, applicants need to have a strong GPA. So aim for a high GPA in rigorous coursework, and preferably as an unweighted GPA, being about 3.7 or above at least. Also, standardized test scores. Excellent scores on either the SAT or the ACT are crucial. Each academy has their own score ranges, and so you'll need to check each website and each academy accordingly. But aiming for the top percentiles is advisable in scores in those standardized test scores in the ACT or SAT. Do bear in mind that the SAT and as such is super scored, which means you can take the top score in one section and the top score from another sitting in another section. So this is what's known as super scoring, and we can learn more about that as we go along in grade 11 in college counselling sessions. Maths and science. A strong foundation in maths and science, preferably including advanced courses like calculus, as in like an AP calculus or a calculus regular class, physics and chemistry. English and English literature is very useful as well, because you need to demonstrate your proficiency in reading, writing and analysing literature as well. Beyond academics, we've got athletics and having well-balanced athletes. So having varsity and captain roles support. Also, performing arts are taken on quite well as well by the academies. Also, being involved in a range of extracurricular activities such as clubs and volunteering and community involvement. Candidates are to demonstrate well-roundedness through diverse activities that can strengthen your applications. Continuing on, more elements to the applications includes strong leadership potential. As you saw with nominations, it's a factor that's considered with some of the nominations. So demonstrating involvement in leadership roles through extracurricular activities or through community service or work experience, or ideally all of them, if possible. Excellent character as well. So possessing qualities like integrity and honesty and responsibility as assessed through essays, recommendations and interviews. So there will be interviews, as you can see further down there as well, if you're moving along successfully. Now, how can those be demonstrated, you might ask? Well, beyond the interviews. Well, remember, college counsellors will get to know the students very well, and that in the college counsellor letter of recommendation as well, we talk about the character of the student as well. So that's also another place to be demonstrating that, as well as in the essays, in the applications themselves. Nominations. Most academies require the nomination from a senator, representative, vice president or other designated officials, as we've already discussed. The candidates need to pass a complete medical exam to ensure physical fitness for military service, and a physical fitness test. So each academy has its own fitness test consisting of typically, for example, a 1 mile run and shuttle run and push-ups and sit-ups and other exercises. So for example, the Air Force has a basketball throw as well. Meeting or exceeding minimum standards is mandatory. It's called the CFA, which is the Candidate Fitness Assessment. The CFA is done via the US Embassy. Also, as part of the applications, you need letters of recommendation. That's the LOR there. And I recommend that you have as many of these as possible. So normally students will be asked going into their applications for having at least 2 academic references. Whereas for these applications, there are more references that are recommended. So one from an English teacher, one from a maths teacher, one from a science teacher, and an athletics director or PE teacher. And students, generally 60% of the successfully admitted applicants have been through a summer program with the academy. So all of them have, but the Merchant Marine Academy. About 60% in general get a place. Who get a place have also been on the summer program. Interviews. Attend interviews with academy representatives to showcase your motivation and your suitability. But if that comes up, you're doing well, and speak to college counsellors to help with preparation for that as well. So some important resources to think about. Go to the official academy website. Each academy has their own website with detailed information about requirements, application procedures, and deadlines. Speak to admissions offices. So contacting the admissions office of your desired academy for specific guidance and clarification can also be very helpful as well. Remember, the application process is competitive, and meeting the minimum requirements doesn't guarantee admission. Start preparing early. Exceed expectations wherever possible, and showcase your passion for leadership, service, and commitment to the chosen branch. So here are some basic tips. Look out for teachers who you know and who know you well as a student and as a person and your character early. So that means getting the letters of recommendations as early as possible. The first letters will go out early August for you guys applying through the academies. It's much later for the other grade 12 students applying. Be organised and know the process and start in grade 11. Tell your college counsellor early in grade 11 and formulate a plan with them and with your parents towards the end of grade 11. Build a resume as well. This is helpful. So now I'm just going to go through each of the academies and give you a little bit more information. Do feel free to screenshot this when the correct academy comes up so you can then reference it later on. Let's start with the U.S. Air Force Academy, USAFA in Colorado Springs. 12.3% of applicants are accepted. Applicants must be between 17 and 23 years old and unmarried with no dependents and must show high academic performance as well as good character and physical fitness. Congressional nominations for USAFA applicants are subject to strict quotas, but additional slots are designated for the children of certain military personnel. In exchange for the typical service obligation, the Air Force will cover tuition and room and board for students at USAFA. Students also receive a small stipend. The US Coast Guard Academy, USCGA in Connecticut. So the US Coast Guard is located in New London in Connecticut. It differs from the other service academies in a particularly important way. It doesn't require applicants to be nominated by members of Congress, and there are no application quotas for particular geographic areas. Instead, prospective applicants are evaluated entirely based on personal merit, as demonstrated by their applications. Applicants must be between the ages of 17 and 22 and unmarried with no children and no outstanding debt. They'll need to submit transcripts and test scores, recommendations and physical fitness exam results, and optionally interviews. About 16% of applicants are eventually admitted, making the program very competitive. Tuition to USCGA is covered by the Coast Guard in exchange for 5 years of service or more in certain circumstances. Some scholarships are available to help students cover their own educational expenses. The United States Merchant Marine Academy, USMMA. Sometimes it's referred to simply as Kings Point. The Service Academy is located in Kings Point, New York, on the northernmost shore of Long Island. USMMA differs from the other service academies in that it isn't affiliated with a particular branch of the US military. So what happens after graduation may follow a different trajectory. The service obligation at this academy can take the form of active duty military service, usually in the Navy or the Coast Guard. Graduates can also elect to take up a wide range of other approved positions in the maritime world while maintaining a commission in a branch of the military reserves. About a third of USMMA graduates are commissioned as active duty officers in the US military. The rest serve in the reserves and generally take up jobs in the maritime industry or join the US Merchant Marine, an organisation which is usually concerned with commercial shipping or passenger travel, but can act as an auxiliary to the Navy during wartime. Admission to USMMA is very competitive, with about 15% of applicants accepted. Applicants must be between 17 and 25 years old and of good character. Strong grades and standardised test scores are required, in addition to a nomination, a physical fitness exam, medical clearance and security clearance. Most of the cost of attending USMMA is covered in exchange for your service commitment, and financial aid is available to help with the remaining cost. Now, the Army, US Military Academy, USMA. It's affiliated with the US Army, is located in Westpoint, New York, and is often referred to simply as Westpoint, or particularly in athletics as Army. It's the oldest of the service academies, having been initially created under the order from President Thomas Jefferson, and its historically significant campus is a tourist attraction as well as a highly respected educational institution. Applicants to USMA must be between the ages of 17 and 25 and unmarried, with no children for whom they're legally responsible for. Along with their nomination, they're evaluated based on grades and test scores, recommendations, interviews and physical fitness. Only 12.75 of applicants are accepted, so the standards are quite high. Tuition to USMA is fully covered by the US Army in exchange for a commitment to serve. The details of this service depend on what's available at the time and how well the student performs during their college years. Graduates usually serve in the Army, but may be able to go into other military branches. The US Naval, USNA, Annapolis, Maryland. USNA, the Service Academy affiliated with the Navy, is frequently referred to as Annapolis or just simply Navy. Even if you don't know much about the military, you might be familiar with this school due to its famous athletic rivalry with USMA. The annual Army-Navy college football game is popular and nationally televised. It's the most competitive of the service academies in terms of admissions, with only 9% of applicants receiving an acceptance. Applicants must be 17 to 23 years old, unmarried, with no children, and of good character. In addition to a competitive academic application and the usual nomination, the application incorporates standardised test scores, a medical exam, fitness assessment, additional references, and an official interview with a local blue and gold officer. As with the other service academies, the cost of attendance is covered by the military in exchange for a service commitment, typically in the Navy or the Marine Corps. So Students also receive regular pay from which these educational expenses are deducted. Okay, so moving on from the service academies, we've also got this category of ROTC. Okay, stands for Reserve Officers Training Corps. It's a program offered at many colleges and universities in the US that train students to become officers in the armed forces. So here's a breakdown of what ROTC is all about. Its purpose, first of all. To prepare young adults for leadership roles as commissioned officers in the US military. To provide students with valuable leadership, teamwork, and decision-making skills. To offer educational opportunities and financial assistance in exchange for a future commitment to military service. So what's the structure? Well, ROTC programs are available for branches of the military. Each branch has its own ROTC program with specific requirements and training. The program typically consists of two parts. There's the basic course and then there's the advanced course. So in the basic course, it's open to all students and it focuses on general military knowledge and leadership skills with no commitment that's required. It's a good way to check to see whether or not this is something that you want to commit to in time. The advanced course is for students committed to becoming officers and involves more intensive training and leadership opportunities. Service commitment upon completion. So you can start with the basic course and then move into your advanced course while you're at a college in the US. So what are the benefits? Well, first of all, financial assistance. ROTC scholarships can offer part or all of your college tuition and fees. Leadership skills, development of valuable leadership and communication and teamwork skills through training and activities. It gives you a guaranteed career path. Upon graduating and commissioning, you'll have a guaranteed job as an officer in the military. And educational opportunities. Many ROTC programs offer additional academic benefits, such as priority course registration and mentorship. So what's the difference between ROTC and the service academies that we've been talking about? The fundamental difference between ROTC and Service Academy lies in the intensity and the timing of your military training and commitment while pursuing your desired education. ROTC, let's start with ROTC, Reserves Officers Training Corps. First of all, it gives us a general education. You attend a regular college or university of your choice and pursue any major that is offered at that college that you can, that you're eligible to study. Military training. ROTC training integrates into your college schedule, typically with classes and activities a few times per week. It's flexible. The flexibility, you have more flexibility in balancing your academics with ROTC and personal life. Commitment. No initial service commitment during the first 2 years in the general military course. Upon entering that advanced course, you commit to active duty service once you graduate. Financial aid. Scholarships are covering partial or full tuition are available, but not full financial support like you get in the service academies. Lifestyle. You experience the full range of college life with fewer restrictions when you compare it to a service academy. So, service academies. Specialized education. You attend a prestigious military academy with a curriculum that's focused on military science and relevant fields, which then ultimately limits your major choices. But are specific, okay, to what you can do later on in active duty. It offers intensive training, so the military training is rigorous and integrated into your daily life, demanding significant time and effort. A full-time commitment. Your life revolves around academics and military training with limited opportunity for outside activities, and that's just while you're there at the university or the academy. Okay, not to mention the active service commitment that you have as well. But you've also got the immediate service commitment. So you commit to active duty service upon graduation and commissioning as an officer, typically 4 years after entering the academy. It has full financial aid though, so tuition fees, housing and food are all covered in exchange for your service commitment. So in terms of your lifestyle, you adapt to a structured and a regimented lifestyle with strict discipline and rules. Can't emphasize that enough. So let's talk about commitment before we go on to considering what you need to think about if when considering whether or not ROTC is right for you. The commitment. So the service commitment after completing the advanced course varies depending on the branch and the scholarship type. Typically ranges from several years to 8 years of active duty with that advanced course. And then that's followed by additional years in the services if applicable. Is ROTC right for you? Though that depends on your individual goals and interests. Consider whether or not you are interested in a career in military. If you value leadership and teamwork skills, if you think you would benefit from financial assistance for college, I think everybody would, with some of the tuition fees that you get in the States. But also, on the other side, you've really got to consider your priorities. Do you really value flexibility and academic choice, or a more intensive military experience and a guaranteed career path? Okay? Think about your lifestyle. Can you adapt to a strict and disciplined environment, or do you prefer a more independent college experience? Are you comfortable with the service commitment? So are you ready for an immediate service commitment after graduation, or would you prefer more time before active duty? All of these things are needed to be considered if you're deciding whether or not it's ROTC that's right for you, or if it's a Service Academy that's right for you. If you're interested in learning more, I recommend that you contact your local ROTC unit or visiting the official website of the branch that you're interested in. And as you can see down there are some helpful links down there. So please feel free to screenshot to get hold of these links, and I'm going to move on in a couple of seconds. I'll make these slides available later as well. Okay, so here's a table that summarizes the points that we have gone through and will help you regarding whether or not to go for a Service Academy or a ROTC. So please feel free to screenshot this. While you're doing that, I want you to think about considering your priorities and your goals. So academic choice. Do you value flexibility in exploring different academic areas, or are you focused on military-related majors? Lifestyle. Can you adapt to a strict and disciplined environment, or prefer the freedom of college life with ROTC commitments? Commitment. Are you ready for an immediate 8-year active duty commitment upon graduation, which would be the Service Academy, or prefer a delayed commitment after college for a ROTC? Leadership development. Do you prioritize highly intensive military training, or prefer a balanced approach to a broader college experiences? Remember, there is no single right choice. Thoroughly research both options, contact recruiters, and weigh your individual preferences carefully before making a decision that aligns with your aspirations. So here are the questions that you wanted to ask during the registration process. We've answered 2 of them directly already. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to finish these up before we talk to our guests. So here we have what are the Air Force ROTC service commitments and scholarship options. So Air Force ROTC is offered at over 1,100 colleges and universities across the country. It allows students to pursue their academic degree while participating in Air Force ROTC activities and leadership training. Service commitment depends on scholarship status. Non-scholarship candidates, no commitment during the first 2 years in the general military course. Sign a contract for active duty service at the start of your junior year when you go onto your professional officer course. You have got the AF ROTC scholarship recipients. It's a contract for active duty service after entering sophomore year. There are multiple Air Force ROTC scholarship options available, covering a variety of portions of tuition fees. Okay, I'll just highlight a few for you to help you start your research in those. So, High School Scholarship Program, the HSSP, full tuition and fees plus a book stipend. In-College Scholarship Program, ICSP, varies depending on the scholarship but can cover full or partial tuition fees. Minuteman Scholarship, full tuition and fees plus a monthly stipend. You've also got community-based scholarships offered by local civic organisations and vary in award amount. Typically, these will be US-based. If you are unsure, attending college as a non-scholarship cadet in the Air Force, ROTC allows you to explore the program and make an informed decision about further commitments later. And our final question was, is calculus a required course for any of the military academies? So while calculus is not strictly required for all Service Academy applications, it is highly recommended and considered a strong asset. Here's a breakdown of the situation. Officially, none of the Service Academies list calculus as a specific requirement for admission. However, strong math skills are emphasised in all the applications. Why is calculus important? Well, it demonstrates strong maths ability. It showcases your aptitude for complex mathematics, valued by all academies. It prepares you for academy academics. Many STEM-related courses at Service Academies incorporate calculus knowledge. It also strengthens your application. So having calculus on your transcript can make your application stand out among competitive applicants. So what alternatives are there for an AP in calculus, for example? Well, we've got the regular class of calculus, which is similar, but a little bit more advanced or along than a pre-calculus course. So in general, it's advised to have, if you haven't got your calculus AP, then you can do a pre-calculus, whereas at ACS we have a calculus regular class. Although it's not as impressive as an AP calculus, for example, taking one of these shows a commitment to challenging maths courses. And also high maths scores, so scoring exceptionally well on standardised maths tests like SATs or ACT maths section can compensate for the absence of an AP calculus, for example. Okay. Additional considerations. So specific branch preferences. Some branches, like the Air Force Academy, emphasise STEM fields more than others. Calculus could be even more crucial for such branches. So certain majors with individual programs might require calculus as a prerequisite for a specific course later on once you are in your first year there. So do consider this. Ultimately, taking calculus is highly recommended for Service Academy applications. It demonstrates mathematical ability, prepares you for future coursework, and strengthens your application. If you haven't taken calculus, focus on excelling in other maths courses and achieving high standardised maths scores. And remember, contacting the admission office of your desired Service Academy for specific information about their expectations is always recommended. They can clarify their stance on calculus or any other aspect of the application and provide guidance on strengthening your application as well.